Hello and welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. Um, this is just Ailish right now. We recorded a whole episode for you guys where we talked about a lot of different things with Vanderpump and with Beverly Hills and a lot of different fun pop culture topics. And we only got Hannah's side of the recording. So we didn't want to give you a one sided conversation. That wouldn't be very fun to listen to. So we are going to give you the first 20 minutes of our episode and then kind of mix it together with part of our previous book club episodes. And we chose the Matthew McConaughey Greenlights episode because that was a book that we really enjoyed. So we'll give you a peek of it here. And then if you really like that, we'll make sure to put the link in the description so you can go and listen to the rest of that episode after you listen to this one. So it's a little bit shorter this week, and hopefully going forward, we don't have other technical difficulties like this. But yeah, I hope that you still enjoy this episode, and thank you so much for listening. Bye.
That's great.
Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. We are recording separately for the first time ever.
Because we have some pretty intense weather out here. And it's freezing.
Yeah. So, we're just trying this out. We thought it would be easier than it actually was.
It's not at all. And what's even weirder is when we had our guest on, it worked perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And now suddenly it's not working as well as we'd hoped.
So, yeah, this might end up just being a audio episode, or it might end up being a poor audio quality episode.
It's really a gamble at this point.
So please bear with us.
Yes.
If this is the first time you're listening to our podcast, I apologize.
It's not always like this.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, let's get into it. I have to say, before we started recording, about an hour and a half ago,
30 different headsets later.
I saw that Sheena Shea went live on Instagram because tonight is the Vanderpump Rules premiere party. And I don't know if you listened to her podcast recently, but I think I sent you some of the stuff that they had talked about with Brock was on. And the one thing they discussed was, and I know he who shall not be named, saying that Brock was a payroll husband. And actually, what was the girl's name that said it first?
Charlie.
Charlie, yeah. Well, in this live, it was discovered that he has put out payroll husband merch.
That was quick.
Yeah, I guess it was on hats, and Sheena was like, "You have got to be kidding me. Like, that is ridiculous. They're not even cute."
He is so petty. I did see, clips of, her, replying to him saying that and saying, "I thought we were friends." And now he, freaking doubled down on it. Because he was also like, "I didn't actually say it. It was Charlie that said it. I was just repeating it." And then you freaking made merch. That's right. Terrible.
And, it doesn't really matter if you said it or didn't say it. You repeated. Right.
And you were trying to ask people about it.
Yeah.
Because that was on the Katie and Dana
Dana.
episode. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Um yeah, it's like so ridiculous, but then to go out and make merch is just absurd. Like,
He drives me nuts. And
I
like
know.
her coworkers on the show are literally under your payroll now, Nick.
I know. Well,
Like,
and that made me wonder, like, is Sheena kind of annoyed with Katie because
right.
she went under,
I know.
you
Or like
know,
if that had been all was fine and then this just kind of like happened. Because allegedly they've
yeah,
been working on the podcast for 6 months, a deal.
whatever.
Anyway.
But yeah, I just had
What'd Sheena
to.
say about it? Or did she just say he made merch?
Yeah, well, somebody else brought it to her attention, like in the comments, I think, and then she looked it up. She was with her sister in the car on the way to the premiere, and yeah, sure enough, um, there were hats.
That is so mean. Like she thought like you guys are friends and you're like
I'm
making merch
trying to
on
see.
dissing her husband.
I'm trying to see if I can pull it up. Um, I don't know where he even has his merch. If it's under his like website or what. I never have been on this website before, so
No. I'm sure it's gotta be. That's what everybody else does. Is there like a
no,
link
I
in
don't.
his Insta bio?
Oh wait, store.
Ah.
Let's see. I mean, there's a lot of. Oh yeah, look, it's on. It's on a mug. It's on a hat. It's on a sweatshirt, and it's on a t-shirt.
Dang.
fifty
Oh,
dollars for the hoodie,
$50.
20 for a hat, 25 for a tee, and 15 for a mug.
She should make like something like payroll fiance or something.
Yeah, no kidding. She said she was gonna make some merch, um, something with ick to rhyme with Nick.
Ooh, what could she do? Like Ick Vial or something.
Ick vile. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be a hater. We are peers in the podcasting community, but it is a little frustrating when our peers do this kind of stuff to each
I know.
other.
Like we should all be supporting each other in this community.
It's hard out here. Yeah, but he thought that Sheena like just started her podcast,
I
so
know. So he only thinks his podcast is relevant. That's so me. I don't even
I
know what to say to
know.
that. What
It's
else?
just rude.
And he's literally a fangirl for Taylor Swift
I
with his
know.
inside
I don't
source.
I don't think that Taylor would want him to be hating on.
Writing for,
Yeah.
yeah, hating on another woman.
Yeah. So
That's,
it's unfortunate.
he's such a turd. Anywho,
I know. I hate.
not to get
We're not
into.
even. I can't even like.
He's like literally
We.
like I want to get on and like comment on his stuff.
Like we have given him so much airtime on our podcast.
And just when we said we weren't going to. All right.
I know. I still
Anywho,
haven't listened though. I haven't been listening.
no, I don't think I have. Oh, he did pop up like in the because I wasn't expect whatever, but it was just the beginning of one of those like ass nicks. But I only listened to like 15 minutes of it.
Hannah, that's 15 minutes
I
too
know, but
long.
when I'm back in my work, I can't do anything because I work in a lab and it has to just play or it's nothing. But I guess it could have like knocked it
You
out
were
of my ear.
probably like so angry for
I know, I was
those.
literally, and like, why would that one pop up? Like, out of all the
Yeah.
podcasts that could have popped
Because
up.
you didn't even listen to those either, the Ask Nick
No,
ones.
no, never. Anywho, I did listen, which I said I wasn't going to Rachel's podcast.
Well, it was only, what, like 40 minutes
Yeah,
long?
it went really fat. I guess I don't really have anything much to say other than, like, I don't know why she thinks she can speak on why Ariana and Tom would still be living in the same house. Like, that's literally none of her business.
I just feel like she's trying to throw everybody under the bus that she
I
can.
know.
Like, I mean,
She's like,
I just
right.
saw clips with the Schwartz thing, and it's like, oh, what? Why? I just don't, like we said last time, why are we bringing all this stuff up? Like,
I
what
know.
is the point?
Literally, what is the point? And it's like, why are we going through this? And like, again, it's not even following any type of like timeline. Like,
Yeah.
this episode is kind of like all over the place, in my opinion. I'm like, I just don't know what we're doing, why it's chapter 2. Like, what does that
Yeah.
even mean?
I didn't understand that either.
I know. And then it was like fan questions allegedly, and it's like, when did she even record this? Like, I just find it hard. But then she kind of acted like, well, I've gotten some more support and blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's what I was going to bring up. I like that, what Lala had to say. I didn't listen to her podcast, but I heard the clips where she was like, everybody wants Tom and Rachel to, like, take accountability. And she goes, Tom has, just not in the way you want him to. And then she was like bringing up points, like he's like, yeah, this is why I did all this, blah blah blah. And then she was like, but Rachel still isn't. And I was like, that was kind of like a good, like the way she worded it was better, but
I still, though, don't. To me, taking accountability is not trying to give an excuse. And
I
in all
know.
the things that I've heard previously with Tom, it was like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. But I was going through this.
Right.
Or, it was like, that's not taking full accountability. Like, just say, I messed up. Don't
You know,
blame
I
anybody
didn't
else.
care. Right. I know. I wish you would just kind of be like, I just didn't care. Like, I wanted out of the relationship. I didn't want to lose my house, so it's complicated. But
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I don't understand, like with Rachel's podcast, it so this time it was fan questions.
yeah,
Um
allegedly.
but but so it's essentially like another interview style podcast,
Yeah,
just like the
that's
first one was.
literally that's what it was. And then like in the description, she was supposed to get. It said she was watching the trailer for season
Oh yeah.
11, but she like. I don't know if it cut off when I on my thing or what, but she didn't talk about it at all. I was like, that was weird. So I don't know if
Yeah.
the editor like I don't know. And
Cut
but
that part
why
out.
would she right? And it's like why would she be reacting to that anyway? I don't understand. Like you're not on the show. I don't get it.
And also a trailer that came out like a month ago when it was
Literally.
BravoCon, like 2 months ago.
I know. And then she kept going on about like, well, producers went in a storyline. Producers went in a storyline, like the Peter thing and the Schwartz thing, and it's like I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird.
And I also feel like if they were asking for a storyline around her, it was because that was the only way they were going to tie her into this group.
Right, or if they were like, "Hey, you're single now. Like, we obviously have to address that. Are you gonna go on dates and stuff? You should go on dates. That would be cool." I don't know. Just the way she was making it sound was like, "Oh, I had to do all these things." It's like I still don't think that. I don't know. I just don't believe her that
Well,
much.
yeah, I mean, I don't. like I said, I don't really believe anything that either of them say because there has been a pattern of deceit for so long. So it's like, why would we believe it?
Right.
And I guess I just, when we researched starting our podcast, one of the things that they said that you should do is to have like 3 episodes out at one time when you first launch it so that like you can gain an audience, which
right.
I don't know if that helped us or not with our audience, but so it's kind of weird to me that like she didn't at least have 2 episodes. Like why couldn't, especially since this one is pretty short. Like you could have easily had those both recorded, dropped both of them, and then have people like wanting more. And not to be like picky about it, but the first one dropped, like this one dropped over a week after the first one.
Right.
Like I think it was like 8 or 9 days, which isn't that big of a deal, but it kind of is when you're building a podcast and wanting consistency.
Right, but I guess they have to draw this story out for as long as they can. Like, anywho.
I don't know. It's just silly. Speaking of podcasts, I guess this is going to be the whole beginning of this episode is other people's podcasts. But I was listening to Spidey's 16th Minute, and they had Jax Taylor on.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, we talked before how like we both agreed that Jax has made a lot of progress with himself and has grown. But I still think that Jax's interpretation of reality isn't always like what other people are experiencing.
I know he's always like, I'm just a family guy. I'm just a family guy.
Yeah,
kids.
And just like some of the stuff he was saying in this episode, I'm like, okay, like that just seems a little warped, but whatever. And he threw out like that that Ariana apparently is paying nothing to live in the house. Like she never paid anything toward the mortgage or any utilities.
And also, like, what is he friends with Tom now because Tom's been going to his restaurant?
No, he said he's not friends with Tom. So that's where I was like, exactly.
And how do you know who's paying what? Yeah, I definitely feel like he will like hear stuff and repeat that too much. Just like,
yeah.
Okay, well, you don't know that's true. But I do feel like he's never liked Ariana for some reason. I feel like he always like secretly wanted her because she was really hot. And like was jealous of Tom for getting her. And I feel like he just like, so I'm not surprised that he was kind of like dissing her.
Well, I just felt like it was such a bizarre thing to say. It's like, so you're trying to make us all believe that the entire time that they've been living in this house, Ariana has contributed nothing.
And it's like, even if that were semi the case, they were partners with this house. Like, I feel like there had to have been some, like, well, what's mine is yours. So just taking that and running with it isn't right.
Yeah, I just, and then in the same breath, he's like, well, Tom and Tom put all their own money into this bar, and Tom Sandoval he's like hemorrhaging money with his most extras thing. And I'm like, so you're telling me that Tom doesn't have a stable income coming in, even though he's doing these big projects. So, but yet he can still afford
like
a mortgage and utilities on his own.
Right, and it's like, how are they not in foreclosure then if neither one of them paying the mortgage? Like something
Right.
The math ain't mathin' or whatever.
Like how is she now suing him for them to sell the house? Like that doesn't make any sense at all.
When the bank owns it now.
Right. That'll be the new scandal to come out.
Yeah, he definitely is such a gossip. Like, just running his mouth all the time.
I know, and I feel like he hears only bits of things, and then he just repeats it.
I know. Like, he's definitely had, like, just even on the Watch What Happens lives or whatever, it's like he's just throwing stuff out there.
I know.
Like that time where he was like still like mad at Tom or whatever, and he's like, Ariana just needs to go be with a woman. Like, just this such a dig. And then Brittany's like,
I forgot about that. I forgot.
And the whole audience is like, oh. He's like, what? There's nothing wrong with it.
But why say that? Like, why?
Or what did he say? He said something like, she doesn't know what she wants. She wants to be with a woman or something like that. It's like, dude, stop.
He has, like, no filter at all.
None at all. Like, I always think about remember when Tom Sandoval got him that the samurai sword thing signed by Randy Jackson, and they said they hadn't heard from Jax, but they saw him on the camera returning the sword or whatever. And I'm just like picturing it. It's just like, oh my gosh. Sorry, that's.
I like how he was like talking about the stuff that he had done in previous seasons and mistakes that he had made or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, Jax, because you were like coked out.
I know, like, you were a literal nightmare. You were scary.
Like, I know, like I mean, I don't even know what was coursing through your veins, but like it
steroids.
Was...
He was just jacked up, like that time where he was up at the podium just flipping everyone off. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Like, it's honestly unbelievable how Brittany has stuck by him.
I know, like, even when I've been rewatching him, I'm like, I cannot believe she got back with him.
Like, that is the power of love right there. Like,
belief, man.
The temperatures are starting to cool down, and you know what that means. It is cookie making season. So instead of making your own cookie dough or going and buying that prepackaged stuff at the store that we know isn't super healthy, why not try something that is actually made with good for you ingredients? That is where dough comes in. These cookie doughs are ready to make right out of the tub, and you can also eat the cookie dough raw because it is vegan and gluten-free. The best part is that it's enhanced with different vitamins and supplements that can support your immunity or help stabilize your mood. We have tried a few of these different flavors, and we're always eager to try new ones. They are so delicious. We've tried the donuts as well, which are so perfect to put in your lunchbox for work, and we're going to be trying some of the delicious spreads that they have soon. So if any of that sounds good to you, go to Eat Dough. That's dough spelled DEUX.com and use our promo code WATERBOTTLE for 10% off. That's eatdough.com and use promo code WATERBOTTLE. Okay, so our book club this month.
We did Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey.
Greenlight.
Greenlight.
I wish I counted how many times
I know. And it would, okay, so like in the book, he'll like, I guess like the green light thing comes from like anytime something like good happens that's making you move forward in life. Is like his green lights.
Yeah.
So he'd just be like saying something and then be like, green light.
Like it was always at like the end of the story. Yeah, you know?
And even though you should have expected it,
it
was just always like, green light.
I will say, just as like an overarching comment about this book, I enjoyed his narration a lot.
Me too. I thought it was really entertaining the way he told the stories. Mm-hmm. And obviously his voice was just really nice to
Yeah.
listen to.
But he just seems like such a good storyteller. Like you can just imagine him at like around a fire. You're like just having wine or beer or bourbon, and he's just telling a story.
I know. I feel like my answer from now on, if you could have a
dinner party
with
yeah,
someone dead or alive, I'm gonna say
Matthew McConaughey. I know, because the amount of stories that he had in this were just wild.
And the book too was like funny. Like some of it, he was like, I laughed a couple of times, not like dying, but it was like I laughed. Like they were just like unexpected.
I mean, I always enjoy a book that's in chronological order, but especially when it's like a memoir, like about the person's life. If it is supposed to be like their full life, like I love when it starts when they're young and goes through, like that just makes the most sense.
I know. I don't exactly know, like, because some of the memoirs are just like essays, but I still feel like you can do that in like some kind of chronological order though. And I feel like a lot of times they don't, and I don't really know what that choice is, but this one
he did.
Listen, and the other thing I really liked about this book is that he didn't like dwell on a lot of stuff. Like he would give you like the main memories of each like time period of his life, which was really enjoyable. It's like we weren't getting on this like
filler
boring
nonsense.
All the bad things that ever happened to him. It was like,
well, I liked how at the beginning it was almost like a prelogue where he kind of just explained the Greenlights thing. He explained like the one thing I like how he said, like, you can either change your reality or you can change how you see it.
Yes.
And I felt like with this whole book, and while I was listening to it, and then it actually, was proven true at the end, when it was so clear that he did so much self-reflection.
Yeah, that's what I love too. He was always trying to make himself better. Like anytime he felt himself in like this stagnant
a yellow or red light.
He was like, he'd always like, okay, what can I do to change this? What can I do to like take some time to myself? I really enjoyed that.
Me too. He said at one point at the beginning that he used to write things down to forget them and not to remember, and that like resonated with me because I used to journal like a lot when I was like I think we all had like a diary when we were younger, but then when I was like in high school and through college and then post college, like I would write in my journal all the time. But for me, a lot of it was like just to like purge my thoughts or be angry about a situation or try and figure out a situation, and then I would like not go back at it, and it wasn't necessarily like I want to remember this stuff, so I thought it was interesting how he even kind of like shifted his like way of journaling and poem writing and stuff, where he was like, no, I want to be able to like look back on this stuff, and with writing this book he's like, I could unlock memories that I forgot about, and I can take new lessons from these memories. So
yeah, and I think that was cool too, reading like a book from somebody who like actually went into like their journals and stuff and like got some of the stories of like what they were feeling in that moment instead of just like trying to remember it. So I guess if you ever think you're gonna write a memoir someday, start journaling.
It made me want to start journaling, but then I'm like, well, what am I gonna write about?
Today I sat and stared at the wall.
Literally.
Today I sat and stared at the other wall.
Today I went to work and then I came home. No, I'm sure we'd have more to write about, but I mean, compared to him, his life was just from beginning to present. It was just like some of the stories I'm just like, who does this stuff happen to?
He definitely is like, I don't even know what to say, like I don't even want to say lucky, but some stuff did end up
but that's
being
make me think, like, is it the mindset?
Right.
I mean, I think that some of the things definitely were just like, this would only happen to Matthew McConaughey.
I know.
But at the same time, I mean, it seemed like he really like opened himself up to these different opportunities.
I know, and I think with that too, I mean, obviously for him being like a handsome white man,
Yeah.
things are gonna kind of be a little bit easier in that way. Like he can walk into a casting room and be like, no, like I want to go out for this part, you know, but with that being said, though, I think he's a really charming, professional, good actor, too. So it's not like to discredit that.
No.
But I definitely think, you know, his journey is going to be a little bit different as far as like Hollywood and stuff.
Right.
But
I agree. I guess thinking about like his childhood and teen years, I thought I knew some of this stuff about like his parents and everything, but like I didn't know the details, like how they were divorced twice, married 3 times, and just like the like passion in there, you know, whether it be like positive or negative, like the physicality,
Right.
and then the like intense love. Like I can't, when I heard that part of his book, I'm like, wow, I wonder how like that made him think of relationships.
Right.
Because seeing that from such a young age, like that really molds what you want in a partner.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like he has that with his partner. I mean,
No.
like the love. But
Right, but not like the chasing each other with a knife.
yeah, that story was like,
Wild.
yeah.
The other thing I noticed too about his childhood, because he has 2 brothers, there's a lot of like testosterone, like intense,
So
like,
much.
like
This is
your
your
sign.
future.
I know, right? It's like your sign of being, which is funny because me and my son were like, it's like he always wants to wrestle. Like I think his love language is gonna be physical touch.
Yeah.
My husband was like, physical touch. But it's like, oh, you want to wrestle? All right, let's just wrestle. We're just like slamming into each other. I'm like, this is what you want. This is what you want. So it's
And
like
it
I can
literally
relate.
is.
But it was like, I thought it was funny. Like the signal of you being a man was
Like beating somebody
knock-
within an inch of their life.
yeah, like if you but specifically your dad. If you knocked your dad out, almost killed him, you were a man, and it was like so traumatizing for
I
the boys. They're like,
know.
I don't want to do
They're,
this. He's like,
literally
whack me.
bawling.
Dad, I killed him. I told you I didn't want to do this.
And then he comes to and he's like,
I'm
Son.
proud of you. It's like, what? Like he literally did that with all 3
I
of the
know.
boys. It was wild.
I know that would be so traumatizing.
I know.
I mean, I like
It's like,
listening.
do it.
And you know, I thought it
Kill
was
me.
interesting with this book though. Like he did throw the stuff in about his brothers too, and like
Yeah.
some because some people just focus on themselves, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that he like talked with them about stuff.
Right, what they were gonna put
But it was just interesting that like they all had such similar experiences with their father. Yeah, that was
yeah,
that was
so fun.
wild.
Let me see here.
I liked how he really liked poetry from a young age.
yeah, he's kind of like a sensitive
I know.
lad.
I like that though. I mean,
No,
I
I
think
do. He's-
that it is.
Yeah, it's interesting too because he is so masculine
I
and like
know.
lives very masculine, like that stereotypical, but he also does like embrace emotions
Right.
and he'll like cry from passion.
Yeah,
Like,
which is so wild because you wouldn't expect
No.
that with his childhood.
no, not at all. Which I thought, but it seemed like
It seems like the family literally had everything.
yes,
Like high highs, low lows, everywhere
Yeah.
in
It
between.
was like everybody felt exactly what they were feeling,
Yes.
and that's the way it was, which was pretty cool.
yeah.
I have one favorite story.
Okay, I wonder
think
if
this
it's
might have
one
been
of
my
mine.
favorite story in the whole book was when his mom was selling this
Yes,
mink.
yes.
So his mom's
Oil
selling
mink.
this oil mink,
Yeah.
this cream, and I guess he had gotten just a little bit of acne, and his mom's like, here, put this on, like, every night,
purges
putting this
your skin.
So he gets this horrific acne. He has to get on Accutane.
And, like, it literally sounded like the most painful, horrible. I mean, he said he was, like, unrecognizable.
And, I mean, he could have been being dramatic, but I feel like, I mean, the cosmetics back then were probably nuts. But then...
Wait, tell how when he went to the dermatologist.
Which part?
And the dermatologist was like, Matthew, what are you doing?
Putting this stuff on your skin. You're not an old woman, basically.
And he was like, you are 10 days away from having horrific acne scars, irreversible damage.
He's like, oh no. Oh my god. So then they put him on Accutane, and his dad's like, this is a lawsuit.
The whole thing's out of a movie.
Yeah, he's like, so they end up going like through with this, but eventually his skin like gets better on the Accutane, and
but
so
the lawyers like emotional
damage,
damages.
right? Like this screwed you up, and Matthew's like, well, yeah, I guess I guess it did. And sorry, that's terrible. I'll stop doing that.
No, I like it.
So they're in the court, and the other side is like, okay, so you say it's been, you know, doing a lot of like damage to you and everything. He's like, yeah. He's like putting on really this sad story.
He's like, they threw me a slow ball there.
I had this in the bag. Then they whip out his yearbook, and he was voted most handsome.
With this beautiful girl voted most beautiful.
He's like, dang.
And the case is dropped.
Like, I just died when he said
that.
Was like,
so
I was voted
funny.
most handsome. Because at first we had like the whole story. I'm like, oh yeah, like this is definitely gonna work out.
Yeah. And
oh my god,
literally like pulled out the yearbook. That was so funny.
Oh, I loved that.
I liked when he was like at high school, and he's like, yeah, I was pretty good with the chicks.
Oh yeah, I had my truck,
and I had a speaker in the back of that truck. I had a megaphone.
Oh yeah, and he'd like say stuff to girls like,
he'd be like, this is what he made it sound like, that he's like crouched down in the bed of the truck. He'd like peer over and see like Maggie Sue walking in her little Daisy Dukes.
Maggie
like,
Sue, ow, baby. He's like, the girls loved it.
I was dating the hottest girl across town and the hottest girl at my school. I'd take him out mudding. And then he decides he wants to get a convertible.
Nice one.
A sports car. And he just goes out in the parking lot, and
like
he leans up against his sports car, and all the girls are walking by, and they don't care about him.
They're going to get the other trucks.
They're going mudding with the other guys.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny. Yeah. I could just like picture him.
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, the Australia Chronicles.
Okay, this was... I feel like sometimes in these like celebrity memoirs, there'll be just like really bizarre stories.
This was so bizarre.
I know, and I feel like it didn't even fully get unpacked.
I know. Like, that sounded horrific.
No. So he does like this foreign exchange program in...
It was so funny. Well,
Australia.
Basically, he like graduated though. That's what was kind of weird. So he had graduated, and then he's like, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life. And then his mom's like, well, you like traveling. Why don't you become an exchange student? And he's like, well, that's not a bad idea. Our like horrible accents. It sound nothing like any of them. But then, so he goes over, and I thought the way he's told this story was so freaking funny. How the Dooleys pick him up, and they are like this weird little pint-sized family. And they said they lived in like Sydney, right?
I think so, yeah.
And then he's like, so we're in the car, and then we drive past Sydney. And I said, oh, so you guys don't live right in the city? No, we live in a little town outside. And it was like, it was like one of those eggs, you know, where you like keep unpacking the Russian dolls. And it like kept getting into a smaller and smaller location. It's like, yeah, we don't really like the city life. We live a little outside. And then smaller town. Yeah, you know, that's not really too fast paced for us. So they get to the smallest location possible.
No, and they just
torture him, basically.
Yeah, they're like real weird. They're like, we want you to call us mom and dad while you're here. He's like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry, he's like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, that's weird. I have he was trying to be nice.
Yeah,
he
was trying to be so nice.
You know, I have my mom and dad at home. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
how would you feel?
And like all this weird. There was something weird with this. There's this. Oh, that's the moral of the story. Never mind. We'll get to that. I forgot about that part.
I thought it was funny after the mom and dad thing, and then the next morning, what was her name? Marjorie or something? I can't remember what her name was. The mom's.
I can't remember.
This exchange mom, whatever her name was. And she was like wailing, crying, he won't call me mom. And then Matthew's like so pure of heart, and he's like, I'm sorry, no, I just can't. And then he's like, she's crying, I'm crying for a different reason, and I'm just holding her.
Oh my gosh. And then there's this one part, I was kind of confused, like I can't remember quite. Was it like a cousin or was it the daughter?
No, it was the brother or the son's girlfriend.
Oh, and they're like, you need to kiss her.
Yeah, that was so weird.
It was creepy. They're like, go over there and kiss her. And he's like, no.
Give her a smooch.
It was so weird.
That was so uncomfortable. That family.
It was so weird. Like, I don't know if we're explaining how it was as weird as it
I think you
came
would really just
in
need to listen to Matthew talk about it, because it was just
it's bizarre.
And
he has just a terrible experience there.
The thing at the beginning was, you have, like, we'll let you go, but you have to stay for a year. That's what like the exchange company was saying. So he's like, okay, I will. I'll stay. So he literally stuck it out with them for like 6 months,
and then tried to like go to a new family.
Yeah,
and then it was like they weren't coming, and like this family's tricking them, like, well, actually they're not coming, you're staying.
Yeah, he wouldn't let him go, and then he like freaking
tries to fight him,
decks him.
Yeah, he's like, bye, I'm not staying here. Like, he's like, I've had enough. This is so weird.
He was trying to be nice the entire 6 months. Oh, and he wouldn't eat anything, remember? He just
because he was
like vegetarian
or
vegan
or something,
but he just like wouldn't eat their food because they had all these weird food restrictions, and so he was eating cabbage and ketchup, and he went down to like 135 or something insane.
Oh my gosh, yeah. But then we find, so anyway, like he sticks it out the year.
He finally gets to
a new
move in
family.
with different family.
That goes better, but it turns out their kid was in America the whole time with his family, living it up,
literally
partying,
no curfew.
Drinking. He was having the best time of his life.
That was a twist.
I know it. That was so funny when he said that. I was like, oh my gosh. And he's like, oh yeah, their son. Yeah, he was with my parents and having the time of his life.
But it was also funny how that his last little bit of time there, he's like having a cookout with the family that he was with, and they were like kind of drinking and stuff. And one of the like host family like dads was like, so how'd you stick it out with the Dooleys for all that time? Like, they knew they were crazy, and they let him just stay in that situation.
It was so weird. Like, I know, we're not explaining it good. You just literally had to hear him say it. It was so weird. Yeah. It made me feel so gross. I know. I don't know what it was about, like that whole situation. They were gonna
what he ended up taking from that was that this terrible time in his life like forced him to become very introspective. So it was just like really interesting how he was able to take like these terrible moments.
I know, he really was.
Even like at the time, like he really was so refined, and he's like, no, like I need to do this. I committed my word to a year, and like how can I grow from this? Like he just always is like thinking about that, which for his age, because he would have been like what, 19 then, like it's kind of amazing.
It was.
Oh, what I wrote down doesn't make any sense, but I meant to say he kind of got into acting by accident.
Mm-hmm.
So when he like came back, he went to college and then he wanted to be a lawyer, and then he kind of decided, no, I want to go to film school.
Mm-hmm.
But then to like, you know, get a job and get an in within the industry is how he kind of got into acting.
Yeah, it was like a production assistant job.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then it was so sad with his dad dying.
Yeah, he like gets his first like role at Dazed and Confused, and like literally like what 5 days into it or something, his dad passes away, and it was like really unexpected.
Mm-hmm. So and he was really only 22 when that happened, which is, I mean, he's had a long time without his dad. Yeah, and I don't know how much older his brothers are.
I wasn't sure. I don't remember.
It seemed like his oldest brother was like, not like a significant amount of time, but like not like 2 years. It seemed like he was like maybe 5 or more years older, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah, he was making love to Matthew's mother and had a heart attack. That's how he said he wanted to go out. I don't know why. He went out. That's anything that was like talked about in the family. Like, this is how I hope I die.
But it was so, and that's how he went out. That was crazy.
I know. I thought it was really funny. Like once he kind of had his Dazed and Confused like little fame, and then kind of stuff that was happening after that, how his mom was so into the fame aspect.
Yeah, he goes, I'm like watching TV and there's my mom. This is Matthew's old room and blah blah blah, and he's like, what in the world? So he said that really like affected their relationship for a while, where she was just like fame hungry, but then it seemed like they were eventually able to kind of like work it out, but that was kind of sad.
I know. I
like felt bad for him, and he just seemed really disappointed, even like recalling it.
I know he did. I mean, that would be such a crazy thing. Like he didn't even know, and the mom's giving a tour of their childhood home and like sharing these really personal
like stuff,
like stories. Yeah.
No, that was sad.